Hello and welcome back to RageGamingVideos. My name is Olo and today I'm talking about item consumables and the unique tools that are existing in the game that you can convert FP for incredible uses, get some seriously useful range damage, or more importantly, strange and unique effects that can benefit you greatly in your playthroughs. Oh, and don't worry about my character, he's just having a bad day. Our first item then is going to be the Bewitching Branch. A very simple and effective item. The description reads that you must pierce a foe in exchange for some FP, and that will turn them into a temporary ally. But interestingly, you do not actually need to pierce them with the, stab. It's just the mist that is generated by the branch that needs to hit the enemy. As you can see, it can actually hit multiple enemies, like these two omens, and they do a lot of damage in unison to the other omen that is just here. So yes, you can immediately see in any situation where you've got multiple targets, the Bewitching Branch is extremely useful. In fact, any duo boss fight or any multi-enemy fight is going to be really useful. Reddit user Evilux showed it best where they used the Bewitching Branch in the boss fight in Castle Sol against Niall, the veteran. He is a bit of a problem. Right at the beginning, he has these two ridiculous summons that are really annoying to deal with, and he'll even buffer them up. One Bewitching Branch later, and oh my god, does this fight become much more manageable, but actually really easy, because that summon, especially when buffed up, does a lot of damage to the boss. It's kind of ridiculous. Do note though, as you see in that clip, yeah, you can take damage from your bewitched targets, so do be careful around them. Another great use of the Bewitching Branch though, as I show in the Omen clip, is how once you have bewitched a target, it won't fight you. So you can just kill it and it won't do anything about it. That's really useful against some heavy-hitting enemies. Now, while you can find a few Bewitching Branches around the world and even buy a couple from a merchant, it's a bit easier if you can craft them. They require the Sacramental Buds and Miquella's Lilies, and you can hold up to 10 at once. To infinitely craft them though, you will need Fervor's Cookbook number 3, which unlocks the Bewitching Branch. And the source of this is actually quite straightforward. You must make it to the Mohgwyn Palace, and after you have reached this area, you technically know of Mohg's location, and you can report that to Gideon in the Round Table, who will exchange resources with you in exchange for information you can give him about Shardbearers. So once you reach the Mohgwyn area here, you can go tell him and collect your reward. If you don't know how to get there, you need to go through the bloody portal at the west side of the consecrated snowfield, or you can do the Vary quest that takes place here at the Rose Church. Then we can return to the Round Table Hold, go speak with Gideon in his room, and he will give you the cookbook required to craft infinite Bewitching Branches, which again are incredibly useful and very underrated as an item. Next up on extremely useful consumables that you are not getting full use out of, we need to talk about the Crystal Darts. These throwing knives that you can spam out and do great damage. You are throwing literal magic damage, which is one of the best elements you can use against most enemies in the game. There are so few enemies that are resistant to that, so you can get great rage damage on a target. But what we care about is the unique effect of the Crystal Dart. When used against certain enemies, it has an interesting effect. So while they do consume a very small amount of FP to throw, they can be very useful. And it even says in the description here that yes, a golem crafter employed a similar crystal tool, so that's how we know to try it on golems. The huge golem enemies that can be quite annoying, especially when they're, multiple at once. There's a few areas like that on the long bridge to the first tower, or perhaps when you're in the Altus Plateau. Throw enough of these at one of the golems though, and it will frenzy, causing it to attack all units near it, including you, so it's still an enemy to you, unlike the Bewitching Branch, but that means all units nearby will attack it, completely changing their aggro from you to the other target, the other golem, making your life a lot easier. You want to burn down a specific enemy? That is a great way to do it. But it doesn't just work on golems, actually, as it turns out. You know, in the catacombs with all of those really annoying fanged imp enemies, where you're dealing with packs of them at once that can be very annoying? Well, if you throw some crystal darts at them, just 2, and you can throw them very quickly, that will frenzy it. And the imps will turn on each other, which gives you breathing room and a way to control the fight. Super useful. And even further than that, it also works on the burial dogs, the watchdogs that, yeah, are annoying boss fights at certain points in the game, but become kind of regular enemies in certain catacombs. There's even one catacomb where there's a duo watchdog fight, which is super hard to deal with, and you know what? It's not so hard when you have crystal darts and you can turn them against each other. Once again, you can find and buy crystal darts around the world, but it is much easier to just infinitely craft them yourself using your own recipe. They require 3 cracked crystals to craft, which you can find en masse in all of the crystal tunnels of the game. These are very easy to get. That comes from the Nomadic Warrior Cookbook number 11, and mercifully, that is super easy to get. Right at the beginning of the Lakes region, you will find the first merchant right here with his campfire. We talked to him, and he sells it for 1,500 runes, a very reasonable price for an item that is going to serve you in your playthrough greatly. Next, we're talking about the Ancestral Infant's Head. This is actually a tool rather than a consumable, therefore it is infinite use. It does cost FP to use, but has quite interesting scaling. Intelligent scaling. So for 27 FP, you can spread this magical fire on an area, and enemies, while standing in it, will continuously take fire damage. That covers a wide area, the entire space of a corridor in PvP, or say in catacombs where you're dealing with imps or other enemies where you need to AoE targets down. The gate front should be a good place to show you an example of AoE with this simple tool, which, as you can see, even when I'm being hit, is going out. Look at that! It's damage over time while they're standing in it. And, you know, compared to some fire damage items I've seen, magma items I've seen, that does a lot of damage. Like, it ticks really quick. But where I see potentially the most use for this item is in tight corridors like this, in the catacombs, where I can just place it down and completely cover the whole corridor when I'm dealing with a pack of annoying enemies like these jerks, the fanged imps. Look at that. You really burn through the health pool and you can completely control the corridor. I could see in an invasion that being really useful. Now we're going to try in a multi-target boss fight to see how we do. Once again with the Erdtree Burial Watchdog as our test dummy. How kind. Look at that. We are burning through. And the range you can do if you actually target as well is not bad. Probably better to free aim and put on the ground right in front of you though. We try and keep the boss in it, and look at that. That's not bad. That's not bad at all for a tool that you can use with FP on any build, or, you know, scale the damage using intelligence. Very cool. To get your own Ancestral head, then, you're going to come here to the Ancestral Woods area of the Nokron Eternal City sort of region. From the Ancestral Woods Grace, we're just heading north and west a little bit to this submerged ruin. And that's where I'm standing right now. I've just dropped down from the cliff where those two ladies are singing. I'm going to climb up so we can progress through this area. Now, I would recommend you take your time doing this, not randomly jumping around on your horse, because you'll throw yourself off the side very easily. We need to basically just get to the other side. From this, we will need Torrent to make the jump, or you can go into the ledge there on the right. Either is fine. And we will have a defender here that we're going to need to clear out. She's actually using the Ancestral head, which is really cool to see. Once she's dead, we have the chest. Easy as that. Another great thing to know about the head also is that it actually gets buffed up by a specific headpiece. This is the Shining Horned headband, and these are dropped by the female shaman that are singing in this area. There's 4 you can farm really quickly. As you can see, it strengthens the infant's head, making it deal more damage, and also it looks really cool, so definitely not a bad pick. Next, I want to talk to you about food. There's so many useful food items in this game, but to be honest, one of them is particularly good and very easy to get, able to use before every fight in PvP or every boss fight or fight scenario in PvE. And it all comes from this lovely individual who's going to speak to me.
What are you looking at?
In a very polite manner.
Piss off before I crack you in half.
See, he's so nice. The problem is, you can mess this up in 2 ways. You can do what I've done and go defeat Rykard too early before interacting and doing his storyline, so he won't become a merchant. Or you could kill him instead of buying the thing you need from him, becoming friends with him. To correctly do the interaction with that wonderful guy, you need to come here to speak with this character. Raya the Scout can be found here in the Lakes region, just before the actual shack itself. She asks you to get her necklace back from a ruffian, a thug, who has robbed the necklace. Just northwest of her then Very close, in fact, is the Boil Prawn Shack. We have the lovely merchant again. Let's speak with him. We'll politely ask him to give us the necklace. Honestly, he fairly says, you know, all right, I'll give you it, but you got to buy it from me. And it's only 1,000 runes. So we buy it from him, and we're good now. We're friends. We just have to speak to him again. And he's very friendly this time. As you can see, we're good friends.
I see. You want some of me prawn? Freshly cooked it is.
Oh god, yeah. And just like that, the Blackguard becomes a merchant, and we can buy the boiled prawns, which will give us physical damage negation 600 a pop. And the greatest gesture in the game, man. Like, you can't go wrong with this. If you've messed up his storyline, you gotta regret it. Fix it in New Game Plus or on a new character. It's well worth it. But what we truly care about is the boiled prawn. By eating it, we're gonna get a physical damage negation buff, which you can see at the top left. Now it's run out, I can tell you that it lasts exactly 60 seconds and increased my physical resistance from 23.5 to over 35. Plus 12, which currently equates to 1/3 increase of my physical resistance. That is crazy good. The thing is, though, there's actually better food than the prawn. It's the crab. And yeah, the Blackguard sells that too. It's just you need to get him to move to the Altar's Plateau, which is where I'm standing right now, and he's just over there with his little camp set up. To get him to come here, you need to get him friendly. That means buying some prawns from him, as well as the necklace, and then bring the necklace back to Rhea, so she has that. And then at that point, he actually becomes a summon at the Magma Worm boss fight, the tunnel entrance to the Altar's Plateau. So I summoned him in and did that with him, and moved to the Altar's Plateau region, at which point he progressed forward, and you can even see him on the map before you even go there, where exactly he is, which is this moat right outside of Lindell. Sorry, the map's obscured on this save, but yeah, it's literally the moat outside of Lindell. Just to the east here is the boss fight, the main entrance to Lindell you must go through. He's just next to that. Anyway, as you can see, he is literally next to some crabs, and there's a crab waiting in ambush in the lake. And I guess he's found a source of new food. He is cooking crab instead of the prawns. So now he doesn't just sell boiled prawn, but he sells boiled crab, which goes from physical negation to greatly boost physical damage negation. So as you can see, my physical defense right now is 23.5. After eating some beautiful crab, I've gone to 38. So it's about a 20% increase up from a 15%. We can get that 15% pretty easily in the game, but it's well worth getting the crab to get the better defense. For our last interesting and important consumable that you should not sleep on, I want to talk about two specific types of stones that will heal you over time while you stand in them. The first one we're looking at is the warming stone. The straightforward and easy item to drop on the ground. You can find these all over the world, but there is an infinite way to craft them I'm about to show you. By standing inside of these, you receive healing over time, and it's a respectable 25 health per second. But the thing is, there's another healing stone in the game, and they stack. So they're a really reliable way to heal yourself instead of using flasks, and they do work in co-op as well for your allies, however you want to use them. To get the crafting recipe for the warming stones, though, you're going to want to come here at the Altar's Plateau, basically the northern or bang on middle area with the minor tree. So here we are over the ruins, just behind the Erd tree. And on the ground is literally going to be your cookbook, number 19 of the Nomadic Warrior version. And as you can see, not only does that give you the warming stones, but also sweet raisins for your torrent. But now we can craft them using Erd tree flowers, smoldering butterflies, and sanctuary stones. We can hold up to 10 of these at once, so that's quite a lot of reliable healing in exchange for some FP. But as I said, there's another type of stone that can heal you over time, and they stack for some serious healing. Very close to the ruined labyrinth, Grace here at the northeastern point of the lake region. I've got a little marker where we're going to find a frenzyflame stone. Right here on this body, just on the ground, is where you can find your first one. And as you can see, it uses FP to heal chaos followers. Unlike the warming stone, it can be thrown on the ground. It just has that fire effect. It gives you madness, however, if you are not part of the faction. So that's something you definitely want to be wary of. We can place them both together, though, stand in the middle and get some serious healing. Unless I am not part of the Madness faction. To become part of the Madness faction, this is unfortunately spoiler territory, so maybe don't watch this if you don't want to hear or see the stuff to do with the Madness ending of Madness storyline. With that said, to get the benefit of the Frenzy Stones, you must be part of the Frenzy faction. And you're going to need to come to, well, here, this subterranean boss room, and fight a kind of illusion of Moog, where you're fighting only his first phase. After you defeat him at the Cathedral of the Forsaken, there's actually a secret behind the chest and boss arena that you fought, where you hit it and it reveals this passage. To get through this passage, you will need to have made a certain amount of progress in the story, like defeating Morgott, otherwise there will be a wall which blocks me, but I have done that now. Now I can walk through. Down here, you will find the Frenzy Cookbook number 2, which allows you to craft the Frenzy Flame stones I've been mentioning. They require yellow embers, which you can find in this area, or sanctuary stones we can find at Fallen Ruins all over the world. But here we are. At the very bottom of that area, you have what people lovingly call the pizza door. And if you go in there, you will officially join the Frenzy faction. And now that I am marked by the Frenzy, I am part of the Frenzy faction at last. Meaning, the Frenzy Flame Stone. This heals me for 35 health a second, which is certainly better than the Warming Stone. But if I were to combine those two, the Warming Stone and the Frenzy Stone, while part of the Frenzy faction, I'm getting 60 health a second by using these things. So I can convert some FP to some serious health per second, which is really useful in so many scenarios. So if you're using a Frenzy character, be using Warming and Frenzy Stones. It's a huge waste not to be. But there you have it. Those are my items and tools that I want to talk about today, with their unique interactions and some seriously beneficial effects that you can benefit from. If you have any more item related tips like these, then drop it in the comments. You might help me make another video. But for now, I've been Hollow and you've been you. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.